So, this happened.
Oh no!
And as I was searching the interwebs for all types of wound recovery strategies, including creams, serums, nutrients, and even witchcraft, I came across a paper on quite possibly the best strategy that no one's talking about. One that helped me reach the plain and simple truth that the best recovery starts long before any injury even occurs. And yes, that means recovery starts now. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we are talking about the beautiful biological art of putting our pretty cool meat suit and 5-pound mushy membrane in a position to recover fast. Whether it be from a planned procedure like a small cyst removal or something totally unexpected. Say, bike racing against a friend, and instead of looking directly ahead, you're looking at them and bam! You hit a parked van. I know. Oddly specific. Anyway, we are going to explore if the secret to a speedy recovery is actually in the hands of the recovery and not necessarily their after injury care, which is important, but instead their cellular, metabolic, and physiological state prior to the injury ever happening. The biological factors which lie the foundation for recovery. Things that cannot easily be crafted post-trauma. So we'll be spending today discussing why. First, highlighting what the biological recovery process looks like, then reviewing a new, hot off the scientific streets, systematic review showing how exercise prior to an injury may be recovery magic, and finally, as we always do, cover some tactical strategies to put your body in a position to recover faster. Because you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense. And the speed and efficiency to which our biology adapts and responds is a byproduct of how well we train it to. So let's start by looking into what's actually involved in the healing process and talk about what happens when we get injured. This is one of those things that they just don't teach you in health class. Or maybe they did and everyone was just distracted by the sex ed posters. Either way, we humans, the biological organism, are always recovering. There is always some sort of damage or stress causing a biological ruckus in our pretty cool meat suit and 5-pound mushy membrane, many times being a byproduct of natural biological processes such as cellular respiration. And that's totally okay because we are built to recover. That being said, when it comes to our ability and capacity to do so efficiently, it's often an equation which includes the severity of the injury and the current biological state the individual's in, which determines the time needed. One of those being very much determined by lifestyle. But we'll get to that. What's important to know now is that the body has a very precise and highly programmed protocol when an injury occurs. Yes, we're not just winging it. And this response is broken into 4 distinct phases: hemostasis, inflammation, proliferation, and remodeling. The hemostasis phase is the first response from the body. This phase is all about stopping the flow of fluids, like blood, from leaving. So it consists of things like clotting, which I for one would say is a pretty good first step. Hats off to evolution. Next, there is the inflammatory phase, kindly hosted by the immune system, where cleaning and healing of the area begins. And once the area is stable, the proliferation phase begins, closing the wound, creating new tissue, and repairing damaged blood vessels. Finally, when the internal wound is mostly healed, the remodeling phase replaces any temporary tissue with permanent tissue. And just like that, bada bing, bada boom, all done without you even thinking about it. Truly quite amazing. Now, that being said, there are plenty of potential pitfalls that can disrupt this elegant and elaborate process. A few being oxidation status, infection, pre-existing conditions such as diabetes or obesity, stress, medications, alcohol, smoking, and nutrition. And although all of these are very different variables, they all have one key thing in common. They are controllable lifestyle factors. And here are some reasons why they matter. Research has shown that a variety of different disease conditions, such as diabetes, negatively affect wound repair. And insufficient blood supply due to impaired angiogenesis, or the creation of new blood vessels, represents a critical contributor to the failure to heal. Why is this, you ask? Because blood flow and insulin sensitivity are critical for the transportation of oxygen and nutrients to the wound sites. But not only that, they are needed for the absorption of the aforementioned nutrients so the cell can proliferate, migrate, and regenerate. Okay. But I bet you're wondering, how impactful can these lifestyle habits actually be? I mean, do they really make a big difference? What a perfect time for this new study. Researchers out of the University of Otago in New Zealand sought to see if strategic exercise prior to a significant surgery improved or impaired overall recovery. To do this, they conducted a systematic review and meta-analysis of 12 studies and over 800 participants, specifically assessing the association between pre-operative high-intensity interval training, or HIIT training, with cardiorespiratory fitness and post-operative outcomes. Of these 12 studies, 9 were randomized controlled trials and 3 were observational, with all but one having representation from both men and women. Average age across the board being 66, making it a pretty good sample for the adult population. So, what'd they find? Well, after an exercise protocol averaging a few weeks in duration, a significant change in cardiorespiratory fitness, which is a measure of how well the body takes in oxygen and transports it to organs and tissues during a bout of exercise, was observed in the exercise groups, displaying that HIIT increased the cardiorespiratory fitness of the average individual by 2.39 milliliters per minute per kilogram, which is an impressive and significant result. And here's why it may make a big difference when it comes to recovery. In general, post-operative complications occur in about 30% of patients, or around 50% of frail patients. In this study, the participants who undertook high-intensity interval training prior to surgery showed a significant reduction in post-surgery complications. Things such as cardiac complications, pneumonia, and post-operative bowel issues, displaying an overall reduced risk of 56%.
What the hell did you just say?
56%, with participants averaging 3 less days in the hospital. Damn. Now, that being said, this review does not come without its limitations, such as many of the included studies being small in sample size, focused solely on planned injuries such as surgeries, and having no long-term follow-up. However, these initial results are nonetheless intriguing, and another potential notch in the magic longevity belt of badonkadonking. Exercise. Cooler word. Just saying. With that, I wonder, is there anything else we can do to set ourselves up for a faster recovery? Let's talk about it. If you take any message from this powwow back to your cranial cabinets for long-term storage, I hope it's the concept of being proactive. Doing the things that not only set yourself up for a faster recovery, but a better overall day-to-day life because you are vibing more efficiently at the cellular, metabolic, and physiological levels. I hope it's the realization that the best healing starts long before anything ever happens. Understanding that daily habits and rituals, like what and when you're eating, the exercise you're doing, the nature you're experiencing, the environment you put yourself in, the products you use, the water you drink, and the GOAT of all things health and longevity, the sleep you get, are the major modulators of your cellular and metabolic efficiency, structural stability, circulatory capacity, immune responsiveness, and thus your recovery. And if you're pondering how Exactly. There are a number of probable mechanisms at play. When you structure your daily habits and rituals around the foundational components of health and longevity, daily movement, high quality circadian aligned sleep, real whole nourishing foods, and spending adequate time in the environment that you biologically evolved in, aka nature, you do a couple of key things, like providing the proper nutrients to rebuild. We're talking the proteins, peptides, and fats that are needed for proliferation to occur. You also increase cardio output and oxygen delivery to tissue, aiding nutrient and oxygen uptake to key areas. You build and preserve your structural mass, keeping yourself physically able. You improve metabolic function, from mitochondria function to insulin sensitivity and everything in between. You decrease levels of chronic inflammation, which is a major liability and roadblock for optimal tissue function, and you improve psychological well-being. Because chronic stress and the activation of the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system is in no longevity guru's recovery playbook. These are just a small subset of potential mechanisms influencing your outcome. Mechanisms which are modulated by the life you live. Mechanisms we talk all about modulating on the hundreds of videos throughout this channel, where the message has been consistent for years. Feeling good, refreshed, restored, rejuvenated every single damn day doesn't just happen. And now we can say healing doesn't just, well, it does kind of just happen, but optimal healing doesn't just happen. Its speed, efficiency, and overall success is something that you and your lifestyle have a sizable say in. So hedge your bets, get on the offensive, and start your recovery preemptively today. Oh, and watch out for those park vans. Trust me.